Ramadan is not the month of the Quran where we celebrate the Quran from the beginning to the end and end that celebration with the very day of Eid. Tomorrow may be Eid, or the day after may be Eid, right? And Eid does not bring with it distance from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is our celebration of having venerated the greatest blessing this ummah has been given after its prophet, and that is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And one of the complaints of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that is quoted in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala regards the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala quotes him by saying, وقال الرسول ربي إن قوم اتخذوا هذا القرآن مهجورا. And the messenger said, my dear Lord, my people have forsaken this Quran. And that complaint was waged against the likes of Abu Jahl, the likes of Abu Lahab, the likes of Umayyah bin Khalaf, the likes of the most fierce and staunchest enemies to Allah and His Messenger. The Prophet ﷺ was complaining about them. But yet, if we take that same complaint, we can see that it concerns his ummah today. For we have forsaken the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, except in Ramadan. We have forsaken the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We read it ceremoniously, ritualistically. When someone dies, we bring out Yasin. On Fridays, we bring out Surah Al-Kahf, and that's all great. On occasion, we'll read Surah Al-Mulk, and that's great. That's awesome, right? But where is that fervor, that earnest fervor and zeal for the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throughout the month? Where is that after the month has gone? This is the month in which the Quran was revealed, but it is not the month in which the Quran leaves us after coming into our lives. The Quran does not leave us after coming into our lives unless we turn our back against it. And so my appeal to you all in this month is that carry forward the traces of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with you through the next month and the month after that, and enter into rings of light around the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Enter into these rings of light. Begin your khatam again after having completed it this month. Begin it again and spend time with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. Is it not but by the remembrance of Allah that hearts find satisfaction? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls the Quran dhikr. Wal Qur'ani dhikr. I swear by the Quran possessed of remembrance. And so this is one of the greatest ways to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is to recite His book. To recite His book and to become one of the companions of the Quran, so that the Quran will recite itself to you in the grave. And everything that we seek to do with the Quran is in order to bring its companionship with us, or to bring its companionship to us in the abode of worms. In the abode of worms, in which the barzakh, our existence in the barzakh, will be prolonged until the trumpet is blown. Right? We have these days here. We have these days in which we spend on this earth, but the days that we spend under the earth far surpass the days that we spend above the earth. Right? And so, who will be that companion in that lonely, dark abode? Who will be that companion? The greatest of all companions is the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rabi'a al-Adawiyya had her bed, and she would sleep in her bed, but then before she would sleep in her bed, she would sleep in the grave that she dug for herself right next to her bed, in which she completed 3,000 khatams of the Quran. 3,000 times she read the entire Quran from Surah Al-Fatiha to Surah Al-Nas. 3,000 rings of light. Just imagine the light that pervades her grave. Imagine the light that emanates from her grave. And let that be a means of inspiration to us all, that we also enter into meadows of paradise when they uh, when they uh, uh, when they lower our bodies into our graves. That they're actually lowering our bodies into a meadow of paradise where the Quran itself will intercede for us and will protect us and will be with us on the day of judgment, saying, "My dear Lord, I prevented him from sleep at night. So accept my intercession on his behalf." And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept the intercession of his book on our behalf, inshallah ta'ala.